all about hope, real hope. If people change their lifestyle through making choices not to smoke, not to drink too much alcohol, to be a little bit more physically active, to take care with other exposures, etc., like sunlight, radiation, etc., then they can reduce, that population can reduce the risk of cancer by 50%.
There is a huge fear. People are very afraid of dying with cancer. They're not afraid so much of dying with a heart attack, and that's because, you know, it's sudden. But cancer is a long, drawn-out process, and the end stages are not very pleasant, and so there is a great fear about it.
I'm an optimist. I think that we are making tremendous progress.
We're gradually grinding the cancer down, that by working through basic science, translational science, epidemiology, better treatments, people are living longer and living better than ever before.
The death rates from cancer are now declining at something like 0.4 to 0.6% per year in Australia. There's no reason why that trend shouldn't accelerate.
When I started my training, the person who went into oncology was given the same kind of respect that you would to an undertaker. You know, this person sat beside the bed of dying people, held their hand, you know, wished them well, helped them, gave them a few medications, but comparatively, it's an incredible change.
I am satisfied because if it were not for the assistance that we get from these multilateral organizations like IEA, the services would be totally different than what they are today.
I think we have never had such powerful means available. What we have at hand today has nothing to do with what was available 20 years ago.
I think it is much better than what it was 10 or 20 years ago, and definitely much better than what it was 50 years ago. Cancer was a word that was linked with death, and we're trying very hard to change it, and it is starting to change. And now people are not frightened to speak about cancer.
Most of my life, metaphorically, we were running into the woods, and now we're running out of the woods. And so we can document that we saved more lives from cancer last year than ever before in history.
Over the years, I've heard the word cancer countless times. And like most people, I've been personally touched by cancer and seen its tragic impact on my own family, my own friends. But I'm guessing that most of us rarely think of what's going on behind the scenes. Well, as you will see in these 4 films, the world of cancer is busy taking action on several fronts. Researchers are making headway. Oncologists are hard at work. Patient groups are active. Pharmaceutical companies are developing vaccines. And civil society is on the offensive. In the last century, developed countries have witnessed incredible advancement in the fight against cancer. For the first time in recorded history, their cancer mortality rates are on the decline. Clear evidence that cancer can be controlled if we are willing to adopt effective cancer control strategies and commit the necessary resources to supporting them. And yet, despite these successes, the global cancer burden continues to grow. Cancer kills more than 7 million people every year, and by 2010, it will be the world's biggest killer, and we have to fight it. Are we? Are we fighting the cancer stigma that exists in many nations? Do we understand the importance of healthy living? Do we have enough awareness, funds, doctors, and facilities? Most of all, do we care as much as we should?
Let's get back to that week. So you're now in hospital?
Yes, and they're monitoring me because I lost so much blood. I have staples around my neck. I am monitored very well, and they have to stabilize me. So I was in hospital for a week, and that was the Friday. And the following Friday is when the oncologist finally came in. I'm from a small island in Canada. At the time, there were only 2 oncologists for approximately 600 cancer patients. And so by the time the oncologist had come in, I had an idea of what I was to go through, I have a very analytical family, so we analyze a lot. We have a lot of things going on, always analyzing something. So we had kind of figured out what it was, but no idea on treatment, not sure what it was, how it was going to be. Actually, that was a Thursday, and the Friday they wanted me to start an outpatient chemotherapy for 6 months. So I had ABVD, which is the treatment that they use, a chemotherapy regime that they use for Hodgkin's disease, and it was every 2 weeks on a Friday for 6 months. And then after a month and a half, I had 20 days of radiation.
When you hear the word cancer, what comes to mind? What I've found is that people know surprisingly little about cancer. They know little of the causes, challenges, or the options. Talk about cancer, and many people still today imagine a hospital, chemotherapy, loss of hair, and ultimately, death. In the next few weeks of filming, we are going to visit hospitals, laboratories, universities, and government offices to find out where cancer is today. We want to know what's new, what's exciting, and what is left to be done. To help us ask the right questions, let's visit an expert. What are the key questions that we should be asking of scientists and doctors today?
I think the key questions in cancer, if you look at them at the highest level, are that is every cancer that we can prevent being prevented? Is every cancer that we can treat being treated? Is every cancer that we cure be cured? And are we providing palliation and supportive care wherever that's required? And if you apply that to each and every country and situation and region of the world, then we'll know how much progress we have to make in order to do better against this very large and malignant series of chronic diseases.
I'm going to be asking about the major achievements in the overall fight against cancer. Should I be asking more in terms of 2 years, 5 years?
Things go slowly. You can only look at an improvement in 5-year survival at least 5 or 6 years after you've introduced a new treatment, for example.
I look forward to coming back and showing you the film and seeing if we've answered these very important questions. And
thanks very much.
I've got to say that for me, I hate the word breakthrough in cancer, and I hate that because I'm a cancer doctor. And every headline that's produced, usually it's nonsense and rubbish, for every headline that's produced, I have 100 worried, anxious patients and their relatives coming to me in the clinic, waving headline banners, telling us what they've printed from the internet or seen on television, saying breakthrough. What does this mean for me? Does this mean that I'm now no longer living under a death sentence? It's nonsense. What we have is we chip away at it. We've been working steadily, we've been working evenly for the past 2 or 3 decades, and we're gradually improving survival rates. People are living longer, they're living with better quality of life. But cancer is a mixture of over 100 different diseases, and there cannot be a single breakthrough or treatment that will ever cure all of cancer or lead to that sort of finding.
I agree with Professor Kerr in a lot of ways, is that it's so difficult, and I'm sure you've heard this in many of the interviews you've done, that cancer is not a single disease. It's many diseases. You approach each one perhaps somewhat differently. So it's difficult to say, unfortunately, at any point in the future, that we're going to find the magic bullet to cure or prevent all cancers.
I think we're constantly learning more about what cancer is and how we can possibly intervene. My opinion is that we have to focus more on understanding the basic science and how to prevent it.
Although I'd like to believe we're getting close, we've yet to have policymakers and leaders understand the profound importance of prevention. If you study public health, you're going to be hard-pressed to find any major epidemic or pandemic of disease that was ever brought under control by any means other than prevention.